Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our virtual presentation of Vroman and Jewel with author Dana L. Davis and guest Dr. Gregory Schwartz. This event includes an audience Q&A, and to submit a question, please use the Ask a Question feature at the very bottom of the screen. You can also vote for any questions you'd like for our guests to answer, and they will make their way to the very top of the list. Also, please consider supporting our bookstore by purchasing a copy of tonight's featured book. You can just click on the green purchase button directly below the viewer screen, and it will take you to our website where you can complete your purchase. Vroman's Bookstore is 126 years old and is the oldest independent bookstore in Southern California. So it's thanks to avid readers like yourselves who keep our doors open. So we would greatly appreciate any kind of support you can give us tonight. And with that said, let me introduce our speakers and I'll let them take it away from there. Dana L. Davis is an actress and the author of teen novels, The Voice in My Head and Tiffany Sly Lives Here Now. She's known for her previous roles as Carmen Phillips in TNT's Franklin and Bash and Monica Dawson in NBC's cult series Heroes. In addition to her work on screen, Dana is a motivational speaker for teens and is the creator of Culture for Kids LA, a nonprofit organization that gives inner city children tickets and transportation to see performing arts shows around the LA area. And joining her tonight is our moderator, Dr. Gregory Schwartz, who holds a PhD in geography, having taught for 3 years at California State University, Northridge, and currently at Laney College. He is a frequent podcast contributor and appears in the Netflix original series, Last Chance U, Season 5. And with that said, I'm going to let our guests take it from here. Enjoy the talk, everyone.
Thanks, Rira. Hi, Dana.
Hi, thank you so much for being with me tonight. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've read your books from the beginning, from years ago, and this one is a real jewel. And I just, if you could, because this is all about hearing from you. And if you could just give us your portrayal of the book in a couple sentences.
Sure, of course. I was going to say, Greg has been with me since when I first started writing books. He's been such a good friend of mine for so many years. My very, very first book that I ever wrote was called Patty Pickles and the Land of the Kikis. It was a middle grade novel. And Greg was the first person to ever read my attempt to be an author. So it's really cool to have him here. But Vroman and Jewel. Vroman and Jewel is the story of a young girl who just so happens to be like a teenage phenom. And she's sort of living in this bubble of, if you're the best, then you're going to get the part. And so that's sort of where she starts off at. And she's thrust into this world where it doesn't always work like that. Sometimes if you're the best, you don't get the part. And that's sort of what happens to her. And she's cast as the understudy for a Broadway musical because the producers of the show want a big star. And so it just sort of it's like her journey as this understudy, falling for the lead guy whose name is Zeppelin. And there's this video of them practicing together, rehearsing together that sort of goes viral. And that's sort of that sets the stage for what Vroman and Jewel is all about.
Great, sounds good. Yeah, it always sounds better to hear it from the author. And in the same vein, I sent you a passage that I loved, and I was hoping to just kind of kick this off, that you could just read it. That's what book readings are about. If you could just read a couple pages from the book?
Sure, of course. The scene that you picked is a scene where Jersey's best friend actually stops by and they're having this conversation. Her best friend's name is Riley. And Riley wants to know, why Broadway? What does it even mean to you? So hopefully you can hear me okay. Question for you. Riley sets her empty coffee cup beside the chair. I mean, don't get me wrong. I freaking love Hamilton like nobody's business. When I listen to that soundtrack, I'm pretty much a professional rapper. But my Broadway knowledge sort of ends there. What makes you want Broadway so bad? I'm surprised by the question. Nobody has ever asked me that, not even my own parents. How come no one's ever asked me this before? Well, I start. I've always loved musical theater. You know that much. True, true, Riley replies. But it was this musical I watched called Cabaret with Liza Minnelli that officially sealed the deal. I saw it for the first time when I was 7. Never heard of it. Tell me all about it. I smile. Riley has this way about her. Even though she's such a stud, I mean, her parents moved her entire family to Newark so she could play for a better high school softball team. She has this way of making you feel like you're the most important and amazing thing in her life. It's about this eccentric cabaret singer who falls for a guy who's sort of confused about his sexuality, and they end up in a weird love triangle with another guy. Both of them? Yeah, with the same guy. And there's like a Nazi side story. Wait, Riley laughs. You saw this when you were 7? I laughed too. In all fairness, my parents had no idea I was watching it. Did you understand it? Some parts. I was a pretty intuitive kid. For me, it was mostly about the music though. The music in Cabaret made me feel. When Liza Minnelli sang a song called Maybe This Time, I cried. Not because I was sad. I thought, I don't know, I hope I can make people feel someday. Riley leans forward. Alexa, she calls out, and the speaker Aunt Carla keeps outside on the balcony lights up blue. Play Maybe This Time from Cabaret. Playing Maybe This Time from Cabaret by Liza Minnelli from Amazon Music, Amazon replies. The song begins to play. Riley and I listen for a while. I stand and move to the railing and lean my back up against it, watching Riley as she lies on the lounge chair staring up at the morning sky. Look at my arm, Jers. She presents her arm to me. Goosebumps. See? My eyes are welling with tears. I blink them away. You can feel it, can't you? I can relate too. Everybody loves a winner, so nobody loved me. Those lyrics. Is this the heart of every competitive person striving so hard to be validated, to be loved, to be a winner? It's like a warped mindset of, if I could just win, everything will be okay. This is another thing I love about me and Riley. We can laugh and joke about boys, gossip about celebrities and school stuff, but we can also contemplate the meaning of life together. You can do this, She sits up. Make people feel. You don't have to wait for Broadway per se. I know only one other person whose singing gives me goosebumps, and that's you. If you want to make people feel, do it. Sing. You have over 1 million followers on Instagram now. Sing for them. But what if nobody's listening? I ask seriously. On a Broadway stage, everybody is listening. It's this magical storytelling that people from all over the world come to see. It matters. My crummy old Instagram account doesn't matter. Says who? I'm following so many celebrities, but want to know my favorite Instagram account? Selena Gomez? No, silly, you. Knock, knock. Dad peeks his head out onto the balcony. Riley, dear, will be leaving in about 15 minutes. Copy that, Mr. James, Riley replies respectfully as Dad disappears back inside. Wish we had more time. Me too, she stands. At 5'10", Riley sort of towers over me. I kind of miss how people always look twice when they see us together. Her at 150 pounds, so tall and blonde. She's like a new age Viking warrior princess. I'm bummed I haven't been to any of your games lately. I'm the worst. Nah, you're the best. She slings her arm over my shoulder. Besides, it's my turn to watch. She lays her head on top of mine. And please believe me when I say I will be watching Jersey. So show me something good.
Dana, beautiful passage. Thank you so much. It's so great. I mean, Broadway's not even on right now. That's kind of the some of the point of this. And I don't know if you even knew this about me, but when I grew up, my parents took me to a lot of musical theater, a lot. I don't know if we ever talked about that. I mean, even overseas and stuff. And so I really think, to me, musical theater is the best, and it combines all of the best of the best. It's my favorite thing to watch, and it's not happening right now. And that's why I love the way you did your YouTube promo video of the book. And it's just so great. I don't know if any of you that are tuning in have seen it, but it's great. And it's really creative and it's a really different angle. And can you tell us, what that was like creating it and dreaming it up?
Yeah, it was really cool to do that. Initially, we had this dream of doing a virtual choir with a high school show choir, which was supposed to be the high school that I went to, the show choir that I used to be a part of. But because of COVID, the school, in-person school was closed down and the kids couldn't learn the song. So we had to like make up our own choir. And so that was kind of disappointing that didn't work out, because we really wanted to not only like highlight how important Broadway is, because it's like this thing no one's talking about. Like, Broadway's been dark for almost the longest time in history. And Broadway means something to us. It means something to a lot of people. It's how people make a living, and a lot of people. And so we wanted to just sort of like do a tribute, not only to like promote my book, but also to promote how important and special Broadway is. And so I wanted to find like some really amazing singers. And I know that we did find some pretty amazing singers, and they just sort of like have this beautiful heart about them, not just their amazing voices, but like their presence, And yeah, so it was just fun to put together. It was fun to, I hired songwriters, Kevin Richmond and his brother, Joshua Bonnet, and they're a writing team. And they wrote this song. Like, the song is mentioned in my book. It's the song where Vroman and Jewel meet for the first time. And so I was just like, hey, do you think you can make this song real? And so they did. It's beautiful. I love it. So if you guys have a chance, go to YouTube and Google I Think I Remember Vroman and Jewel and check it out. It's like, it's a cool tribute to Broadway, and also for the book. So
yeah, it's got an amazing slow crescendo. It's a really cool video. And how cool that you created some original music like on a Broadway show, even though this is a book. So it's a multimedia. That's really cool. And what I want to ask you is this. I saw Hamilton twice, and I know you like it, and you guys, if you haven't seen her, is it still posted, her video? I don't want to embarrass you.
I did Hamilton years ago.
It was so good. Anyway, she made a really cool kind of clever tribute to Hamilton. Everybody loves Hamilton. It's so dominant. Michelle Obama was like, this is the best piece of art in any form I've ever seen. I felt the same way. One of my friends played Hamilton, and that's how I got to see it. It was crazy. And so everybody loves that. What's your favorite Broadway show ever? And is there a total, I don't want to say train wreck, is there one that you didn't like? Which one did you not like the most?
Well, it's funny. There's a show that's not a Broadway show, but there's a show I did not enjoy. But my mom and I, we went to see the Nutcracker one Christmas, and we had front row seats. And so we were like, sort of like, we didn't even know we had front row seats until we got there. And we're like, oh my God, we have front row seats. We were so excited. We get to the front row, and we sit down, and the show starts, and it's like.
You mean the ballet?
Yeah, the ballet. This is not a Broadway show.
Yeah.
But I feel comfortable saying I didn't like this. But it was just not exciting to see ballet that close. Lots of like sweating and grunting, and like my mom and I were so horrified that we left at intermission. We were just like, yeah, this is not okay to watch the Nutcracker this close up and to see like all the ballerinas like grunting, and so that's probably the worst show I've ever seen. Now seeing the Nutcracker far away is fine. We went and saw it again in Sacramento a few years ago, and we were in the balcony. We made sure we were like really far away. Probably the best Broadway show I've ever seen is, I'm going to say Miss Saigon. Miss Saigon is just, it's so heart-wrenching from like beginning to end. And it also is I believe it's a retelling of Romeo and Juliet. And I have to say Miss Saigon, but Hamilton is a close second, because I have a really cool story about when I saw Hamilton. I was in this bubble of like parenting and like hard work. And so I didn't know anything about Hamilton. all I knew was like everyone's talking about Hamilton. And so my mom offered to watch my daughter, and so I could go to the theater. So I saw that Hamilton was playing at the Pantages. I saw the ticket was $500, and I was like, what is this show? Why is it, what is going on? So I go and see it, and knowing nothing about it, it was such an emotional experience for me. I remember the first time George Washington came out on stage as a Black man, and I just like started crying because I was just like, it just was so special and so important to me. Where I came from growing up doing stage, there weren't a lot of roles for Black people. So to see that, it was so emotional for me, the whole experience.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even Black, and seeing all those famous founding fathers being Black felt so healing to me for some reason. It recodified what that skin color and what those positions can be. It was so important.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, cool. So what I want to know also, I read the book, I know you so well, and I read the book, and I still have questions to ask you. But obviously this is not a reboot, but it's based loosely on Romeo and Juliet, which was written in 1597, over 400 years ago. What makes this work, and why are you so bold to try to make it work 400 years later?
I really love the concept of, because, okay, let me just explain a little bit about Vroman and Jewel. So Vroman and Jewel is a musical that Jersey is a part of. The story is about Jersey and her love interest, Zeppelin. But the musical is called Vroman and Jewel, and that's the Broadway show. And this Broadway show basically is Romeo and Juliet are sentenced, they've killed themselves, and they're standing before the tribunal, in the afterlife. And they are getting their punishment for killing themselves. And their punishment is to right the wrong of their death. They're sentenced to infinite lives on earth until they can meet back up again and right their wrongs, fall in love again and make it work. And so that's the story within the story. And I've always loved the story of Romeo and Juliet ever since I was a kid. Like when I was a kid, my mom would take us to the, Blockbuster back when we went to the video stores, and my family would pick out all the current stuff. And I'd be like in the corner, like getting all the old movies like Romeo and Juliet from 1968. And my mom would like put me in a room in the back of the house and like, you can watch those. We're going to watch like this thriller. And so I just thought it would be cool to give Romeo and Juliet another chance, because how sad. I mean, it's such a great love story, but it's also really tragic. So I wanted to like say, hey, let's give Romeo and Juliet another chance, in 2021, so that sort of was my line of thinking.
Well, we're all glad that you did, and it deserves to be remade. And there's probably, in Western literature, maybe no author has been rebooted so many times as Shakespeare. So I think you're wise to do it. I just saw the San Francisco opera of Romeo and Juliet again, and it just reminded me, like you said, it's just so tragic. Oh my gosh, there's so much power, and I love your reboot. I'm kind of new agey, so I like the twists. So I also want to ask you, as an author, but also just to tease, because Zeppelin is this handsome he's the male lead, a handsome Italian, dark curly hair, chiseled body. It seems like you got into that character a little too much. So no, I'm kidding. I'm sure what was it like to write a love story? Because I've read your other books, and first the children's books, but then the last few books were serious. They had some serious themes, and so this is different. So what was it like to write a love story and be able to kind of get into that?
Well, I think that we sort of, unfortunately, in the Black culture, have a go-to narrative when it comes to storytelling, and that is like pain books, issues books. And those kinds of books are really important, because to live a life as an African American in this country or in this world, it's a painful journey. And so it makes sense that those stories come from our storytellers. But I really, one of my goals as a writer is to normalize the Black experience so that we too fall in love. We too like to, we get into arguments with our parents. We yell at our kids. Like, we have normal experiences aside from like the Black pain, right? And so I just thought it would be fun to get into a love story, where the guy's got the 6-pack and, the girl's getting the butterflies in her stomach. So I thought that would be fun. And I also think that we have a problem in storytelling with people of color in that lighter skin is preferred for our Black women. And so it's harder for us to accept a darker skinned beauty. And so I wanted to write a story about a young girl who has dark skin. And I wanted to make sure that everyone knows she has dark skin. So I compare her skin color in the book to Lupita Nyong'o, who's stunningly beautiful, but extremely dark. I mean, her skin is so beautiful. And I just wanted to point out, this girl is dark skinned. And so here's a chance for the dark skinned girl the guys pining after the dark skinned girl. Like, I just thought that would be a beautiful story for young Black girls to read the story and say, I can be the pretty one. I can be the one that the boy falls in love with.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And, I won't dive into my professor world there, but yeah, it's good to rewrite some of those narratives about what skin color means and what even color means. But mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? I mean, that sinks in, Why don't we say who's the deepest tone of them all, So that's very powerful and that's very good. As you know, I have mixed children and they're growing up in a world where I want them to be exposed to these ideas, and so I love your books because you make that deliberate. And sometimes we shy away from those themes because we don't think they'll get mass appeal, but I think you're proving that wrong. And I think it's the opposite. We're hungry for that,
Definitely.
Okay, so as I said, I'm a professor. I like to mention that several times a day. I'm a professor, and so I want to give you a quiz, a Shakespeare quote quiz. It's going to be extremely difficult. Now, this quote is going to be from a Shakespeare play that you're quite familiar with. Here's the quote. Wisely and slow, they stumble that run fast.
Can I Google it? I'm just kidding. I'm gonna read the comments so somebody can give me the answer. No, I think it's Romeo and Juliet.
It's Romeo and Juliet. So yes. So did you? I just say that to ask. Did you research? Did you read Romeo and Juliet? Did you dig into it and really break it down for this research?
I did. I had a copy of Romeo and Juliet with me for the year and a half, almost 2 years that I was writing this book. So I did read the book, and I did watch all the Romeo and Juliets that I could watch. So I was deeply engrossed in Shakespeare. And I wanted to me, this isn't it's not a retelling of Romeo and Juliet. So if you're looking for a retelling of Romeo and Juliet, this probably isn't the one you want to read. It's a reimagining. It's got some themes that are similar to the play. And so that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, sorry if I said reboot because it's absolutely not that, but it's just it's an illusion. But yes, it's a completely new story, that's for sure. So I have a question here that I actually wrote down, and I want to read it to you because I want to say it right and I want to hear you. But you basically you make very good secondary characters, and you kind of get heavily into family relationships. And in Tiffany Sly, your first book, heavy theme of family. The Voice in My Head was a family on a road trip, and now you have this love story, about a family too, about family. And so Aunt Carla and Jersey's brother Judas, they you know, it could potentially actually steal the show in this book. They're such strong characters. So why is writing, all that to say, why is writing about family so important for you, and why was, you know, writing about Aunt Carla and Judas, what was that like?
That's a great question. I would send chapters to my agent thinking that he's gonna like have comments on like the love story or whatever's happening, and he would just say, I love Judas, like all exclamation points. And Judas is Jersey's brother. And now I should mention that Jersey's family has crazy names, and that's part of like Jersey's, like in the beginning, the first chapter is called What's in a Name, because Jersey is just like, of all the names my family could have named me, they named me Jersey, and I'm from Jersey. So she's from Jersey. Her name is Jersey. Her brother's name is Judas. Her mom's name is Monday, and her dad's name is Dusty. So we have this family of like, right off the bat, she's just like, you know, why me? But I write about family because I think that we've done a disservice in storytelling to our Black people. And instead of writing like characters, we've turned Black people into caricatures and oftentimes offensive stereotypes. And so when I get an opportunity to write a book, I want to write about more than one Black character. And I want to break stereotypes, not just with my hero, my main character, but I want to break stereotypes in any way that I can. So Jersey's Aunt Carla, she lives in $1 million brownstone. And Judas, her brother, has dreams of Wall Street. And her dad teaches the 4th grade. And these are just Black people having Black experiences in New York City. And yeah, I love taking those opportunities to share the story of the kind of Black people that I grew up with, that are in my family and that I talk to every day. It's nothing like what you see on TV, where the Black person is always a wisecracking fool. I don't know anybody, you know, that's that extreme. But Hollywood loves that. And so, you know, I like to use my platform to break those stereotypes. So that's why I write about family.
That's a great answer. I didn't expect to hear you say that. That's a great answer. I just wanted to say, Kristen said, I love your book, The Voice in My Head. And Uwe said, your agent is smart, I think because he liked Judas. So that's pretty cool in the comments. So, you know, the passage that I chose and you read, you talk about Jersey's favorite song, maybe being from Cabaret, maybe this time. What's your favorite Broadway song?
My favorite Broadway song is actually Sun and Moon from Miss Saigon. And I have a funny story. I wanted to get a tattoo, and I went to the tattoo artist, and I had this appointment for like 6 months because this tattoo artist was like super Hollywood, and you had to like make an appointment. And so like it took me 6 months to get this appointment. And I'm like, he's like, what do you want like on your body? And I was like, I want the lyrics from Sun and Moon. And I was like, you are sunlight and I'm moon. And I told him like the whole thing, and he's like, I can't put that on your body. He's like, I'm so sorry. That would be a really bad idea.
Why?
So a sun and moon, I have a tattoo of a sun and moon because the lyrics of that song are so beautiful and so meaningful and special to me, about love, and how in the song it says, you are sunlight and I moon, joined by the gods of fortune, like sharing the sky. And I just think that's so beautiful. Like every time I look at the moon and the sun, I just think of these two powerful forces. Because, you know, I believe in a higher power. So I'm just like, these two powerful forces, like neither one is like saying you're greater than me. So I just think it's beautiful. And I'm a big lyric person. So that's why it's my favorite song.
Got it. Gosh, I have so many of those too. They really strike you. And I like how you said in the passage that you read, you said, you know, make us feel something about, you know, use your voice to make us feel. And that's exactly what happens. I'm just kind of monitoring the time here. I want to save a little time at the end. We'll do a few more questions. And then, you know, for all of you that are watching, think of any questions you might have for Dana, because you can pepper her with those. But I do have a few more. So let's see, which one did I want to ask you? So when you get, I write as well. So we are both in that world. When you get reviews, what's that like? Some are good, some are bad. How do you deal with it?
As a rule, I try not to read reviews. I learned my lesson with Tiffany Sly, but sometimes you can't avoid them because people email them to you, because people feel so passionately, or they're so passionate about what you wrote, or they're so angry about what you wrote that they email you. And so you get, sometimes the reviews land in your mailbox, and so you can't avoid them. But when I think about reviews, like bad reviews, for example, I think about one of my favorite movies of all time, which is John Carter. And John Carter was critically panned. I mean, people say such bad things about John Carter, and me and my daughter love John Carter. We try to watch it like once every 6 months. And sometimes my daughter will just be like, Mom, want to watch John Carter? I'll be like working. We really love that movie. But I've read so many terrible reviews for it. I completely disagree. And I think sometimes like a person might not understand the story that you're trying to tell. If you're, if you like reading books that win Pulitzer Prizes, and then you pick up my book and you're like, this is not going to win a Pulitzer Prize. I'm going to go online and say mean things about it. I mean, you have to check out of it. I mean, it would be equivalent to like going to the Getty and seeing this beautiful piece of art, and maybe you don't think it's that beautiful. So you go online and you're like, I hated this picture at the Getty. It was hideous. I mean, that's sort of how I look at it. If I do accidentally read a good review, it always touches my heart, but I try to avoid them altogether, just so I don't get irritated. So this is art for me. And I think every person who spends time on a book, if you're in the publishing world, you know how much goes in. If you're traditionally published, you know how much goes into putting a book out there. So many people read it. It goes through so many different edits. And, when it's out there, it's art. And so everyone's going to have an opinion. And you just sort of have to be prepared for that.
Right. It's so true. I've written an academic book, and then I've written sort of a more mainstream book. The academic book reviews say, this is so dry and academic. And then the mainstream book, they're like, this is shallow and not academic enough. I mean, it's like, okay, well, can't please everybody. So, no, and then there's good ones too. Before I don't want to lose time before I have you read. I know that you just had a kind of a touching piece come out about you with We Need Diverse Books.
Yes.
And I would love if you could somehow convey that to us or read it.
I would love to. I'll bring it right now.
Okay.
So this is an essay that I wrote for We Need Diverse Books. And the title of the essay is called I Wrote a Dark-Skinned Black Girl Like Me into a Musical Theater Story. Oh my gosh, Mom, you have to hear this new song. I gushed on a cool day in November. It was 1996, and I was a senior in high school. I had just discovered music from a show that was headed to Broadway. I should mention, it was my favorite time of the year. The lush green trees that decorated the courtyard of our apartment complex had gone almost completely bare. Perhaps a few leaves remained brown and hanging precariously, jostled by the strong Midwestern winds. But mostly the branches were naked and spindly, hinting that winter was near. A new song, Mom replied, intrigued as she rolled out the sheets of heavy plastic she used to cover the windows in our tiny apartment, a trick of hers to keep the house warm throughout the winter without a lofty heat bill. Sure, let's hear it. I placed the CD into the player and shuffled to the number that had me all excited, Confrontation, the song Jekyll sings as he battles with his evil alter ego Hyde from the musical Jekyll and Hyde. Mom held up a hand about halfway through. I pressed pause. Yeah, I said. Dana, what on earth is this? It's Confrontation. That singer, his name is Anthony Warlow, He's singing both parts. Isn't that amazing? My mom laughed. Amazing is BB and CeCe Winans. I'm not so sure about this one. Of course, she humored me and listened to the end, but I could tell she just didn't get it. She wasn't one of us, the lovers of musical theater, where the music melds with the beating of our hearts, where it's not just a song, it's vibrant, it's living. I've always had a deep love for musicals and theater. I performed in my first play when I was 7 years old. I was the Thankful Elf in a play called The Thankful Elf. I can remember my audition, waiting for my turn, watching the other kids, thinking to myself, no, that's not how the Thankful Elf would say it. In high school, I performed in plays and musicals, Damn Yankees, Into the Woods, The Wiz, Little Shop of Horrors, Joseph, and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. So much theater in my life that it was a shock and a surprise to my mom when I declared I was off to Los Angeles to pursue a career on screen. My family thought for sure New York would be my home. After all, it's where Broadway lives. But even though performing on stage was in my heart, I didn't think there was a place for a Black girl like me on Broadway. Sure, I love Les Mis and Showboat, Beauty and the Beast, and The Phantom of the Opera, to name a few of the shows playing on Broadway that year. But I knew there was no one like me among those leads. Still, my decision to trade in the possibility of a stage career for one in front of the screen hasn't come without its own set of unique challenges. Hollywood hasn't always been kind when it comes to inclusion in casting women of color. Often, when it comes to diverse casting with Black actors, they seek out a stereotype. Dana, can you do it with a bit more sass? The casting director would ask me. A bit more urban. Dana, can you try it again, but this time more in your face, more loud, more in charge? I watched over the years as Black characters were so often reduced to caricatures, sidekicks, roles that I felt were beneath the actors who played them. I mean, they don't ask Meryl Streep to lower her standards. But no matter how deep I would try to dig, the musical theater loving, viola playing, Anthony Warlow worshiping nerd in me just couldn't tap into my inner urban sass. You're too articulate, a director once told me. Don't over-enunciate. I suppressed my inner groan. Who said Black women can't over-enunciate? Though Hollywood is currently evolving and growing and doing much better with people of color in leads in non-stereotypical roles, it continues to be challenging for the non-famous actors of color, like me. When it comes to women of color, Hollywood prefers light skin. It's a fact. But rather than continue complaining and feeling victimized, I decided I want to be the change I wish to see in the world. Becoming an author helped me to take back my power. Women of color, even darker skinned women, can be the girl the boy pines after. I mean, why not? In my third young adult novel, Vroman and Jewel, I tapped into my love of theater and Broadway, remembering that young version of me who didn't think there was a place for her on the stage of a Broadway theater. I made sure that my main character, Jersey James, was no stereotype. She's a trained musician, educated in musical theater, and an accomplished songwriter. Her brother has dreams of Wall Street. Her dad teaches 4th grade. Her aunt lives in a $1 million brownstone, and the pièce de résistance, Jersey James, is dark-skinned too. I make a reference to her skin being the same tone as Lupita Nyong'o, just in case it's not 100% clear that her skin is dark brown and incredibly beautiful. And since we're breaking stereotypes about Black women, Jersey is a musical theater loving nerd. I say nerd with love. I think Lin-Manuel Miranda has proven that theater nerds can be simultaneously cool, right? I know not everyone will always understand my stories. My first young adult novel was about a girl dealing with anxiety and overcoming grief. She had a best friend who painted his face white. She had a fear of tsunamis. In my second book, my main character hears a voice in her head, a voice claiming to be God. And in my third YA novel, a young Black girl takes on Broadway. She gets to be a nerd. She gets to be the girl the guy goes after. She gets to be the pretty one. She gets to be the hero. And maybe, just maybe, she gets to be the one who shines. Yep, a dark-skinned girl like me.
I love it. I love it. So great to hear writers just do their thing, you know, a little essay here, a little book there. I love it. We're all soaking it up. We do have several questions, and I will ask you a couple of those. I've pulled them up, and this is a really cool system on this Crowdcast where people can vote for them, so we see which ones People really want to know.
Nice.
Okay, so this one's actually sort of complex, but I love it. So when you were thinking about the story that you wanted to write, which idea came first? Wanting to do a classic reimagining, or wanting to do a story rooted in Broadway, or did they kind of come together at the same time?
They kind of came together at the same time. I have to admit that I had terrible writer's block after I finished The Voice in My Head. And I didn't know what to do with myself. Like, I was a writer who couldn't write. So every day I was like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. And so I just sort of got lost in the nothing, I call it. And in the nothing, I would listen to Broadway music every day. And I remember there was this song that just automatically started playing. I didn't even know that Once on This Island had gotten a reboot and was on Broadway. But Once on This Island is a musical that I was in college. And so this song started playing. I was in my car, literally driving around pretending I had something to do. Cameron was in school and I was just like, I think I'm just gonna drive around. And so the song started playing and I remember pulling over because it touched me so deeply that I started crying. By the way, I cried everything, but the song, the girl's voice, Haley Kilgore, who played the lead role on Broadway, it just, I was just amazed by her voice and the lyrics, which is like she's begging the God. She's like, don't single me out and then forget me. She was like, God, please, like, hear my prayer. And I so related to that because that's how I was feeling. I was like, oh my God, this is my song. Because that's how I'm feeling right now with like, God, like, don't forget me, like, help me. And that, the beauty of like feeling something in that moment, like broke my writer's block. And so I was like, I was feeling again. And that was also like me wanting to do a reboot of Romeo, a reimagining of Romeo and Juliet. And it just sort of came together. It was just like, it has to be on Broadway. So that's sort of how it came together.
Wow, that's like you had that question 2 days ago to prepare that answer. That was great. Well done. The other one that got the highest amount of votes, this might be tough to on the spot, but what Broadway song best describes the book and or the main character?
Oh, what Broadway song? That's
kind of tough. Yeah, I know. I was going to skip it because it's hard.
It's kind of tough, but it's also kind of easy because like the first song in Hamilton, which is like, not the first song, but My Shot. Maybe that's like, but anyway, definitely My Shot. Like Jersey has this amazing opportunity and you think like, oh, but she's just an understudy. But that's the whole point of the book. There's no just, right? There's always like a beautiful story to be told if you're willing to be a participant in what your story is. So definitely like My Shot for sure from Hamilton.
Okay, good. I'm glad that would have been tough for me because then your mind just like goes through all these songs. Yeah. Hamilton, so good. Here's another great one. As an actress yourself, how much of yourself do you see in your character, Jersey James?
That's a good question. I feel like when I was Jersey's age, I wasn't that confident. I mean, I literally didn't have the confidence to take on Broadway, and she did. I think there's the vulnerable moments of Jersey. That's a lot of me, but I think that confidence. It took me a long time to feel comfortable with like being in my skin. Jersey wears her hair natural. I was 41 years old when I chopped off all my straight hair, and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
I remember.
So a lot of times in my characters, I find like my strength and self-love from who they are. So that's my short answer.
Love it. So I'll ask one more perhaps, and then I have one for you too before we sort of move to the raffle. But because I know you'll want to answer this question, what message would you want your young readers to take away from Vroman and Jewel?
That's such a good question. Was that your question or was that someone else's question?
Someone else's. I wish it was mine. It's a great question. Yeah.
Good question. I think that there's a beauty in your journey. And I know sometimes like the journeys that we're on can be so incredibly painful, especially if you're in the industry, because the industry is a beast, and there's high highs and low lows. But I think if you can like think of yourself as a protagonist in your own story, you're the star of like whatever's going on in your world. You can find like the beauty in the lows. So I hope that's what people take away from Vroman and Jewel, is that my story is special and it's unique. And if I'm willing to be present in my own story, I can turn it into like whatever I want it to be. So like you're still writing the story. So.
Right. So, okay, I'm the helping you, or I'm the, MC here. So I guess I get to ask one too, but it is very selfish, but I've always wanted to know this. Cause I consider you to be very multilaterally successful. You were an actress, and then you became a writer, and you have a silver medal in Olympic bobsled. You were, isn't that? Am I mixing you up? No, seriously, the last one was not true. But you did so well as an actress, and now you just completely pivoted, and you're doing really well as an author. And I know they're both artistic and creative, but I actually want to know, and I'm going to physically take notes while you're saying this answer, but how did you possibly recreate yourself? What was going on in the inner machinations?
That's such a good question. I think that art has always been really important to me. I mean, I was a kid who was probably like, like I said, I started doing theater when I was 7. I started watching important movies like *And Justice for All* when I was like 8 or 9, crying because Al Pacino cares so much about these people that he's representing in this movie. Movies meant so much to me. Art meant so much to me. It's my life. It's my world. And so writing to me is just an extension of the art I tell as an actor. So to me, they're one and the same, and they kind of work together. So that's sort of like the easy answer. But people always say to me, like, not always, but oftentimes people will say, like, Dana, how long are you going to keep working as an actor? How long are you going to keep working as an author before you're like, I'm tired of this? Because like I said, the roller coaster is painful. And I always say, like, when I'm talking to God, I say, God, when I'm 85, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And that's basically my way of saying, like, this is a life journey. I can't help it. I just love it so much. When I was 10, 9, I would say to my mom, can we please move to Los Angeles? I want to act. I want to do art. I want to write. I want to tell stories. And thankfully, my mom never discouraged me. She just was like, no, we can't move to Los Angeles, but you can when you turn 18. And so, yeah, I guess I can just say that it's just in my heart. And I wake up in the morning and I'm just like, what kind of stories can I tell? It's just, it makes my life worth living. So.
Wow. So, passion. So your passion, and you wanted to share, and you wanted to emote, and you wanted to create. That's a good answer. Trying to learn. I got to learn from the successful people around me, got to learn. I appreciate that answer. Maybe let's try one more, and then we'll do a raffle. Let's try another one here. Oh, this is cool. Gosh, there's a few good ones here. But it's a nice open-ended one. What's next for you, Dana?
Well, I have an announcement coming in January for a new project that I'm working on that you're not allowed to say anything until the announcement comes out. So I'll be excited to share that with people. I'm also doing I'm doing a new Disney, recurring on a new Disney animation. I've been guest starring on some other Disney animations. It is pilot season in LA, even though it's a tough time because, Los Angeles is having a hard time with coronavirus. But the industry keeps going, and so I'm still auditioning, still writing, still working hard at being a mom. Just, every day working hard.
Sounds good. Yeah, I know you've always got so much on the back burner, and we're friends, and so you'll just text me, and it's like, oh, I'm just hanging out, doing nothing, watching TV, and then the next day you're like, oh, I wrote 3 more books, and I'm like, oh, okay, great. So I've got a lot on the back burner. Okay, you guys. So all of you that are paying attention, I love reading I'm reading your comments the whole time, and it's actually very entertaining. We've got a really cool group here. I'm going to read a few Shakespeare quotes. Everyone's like, some of you are like, yay, and some of you are like, oh no, it's challenging. And tell me, they're very recognizable, but you have to tell me what play they're from. So you can type it into the comments, not in the questions, the comments that you've been writing on the right-hand side. And then Dana, what do? They go to then we find the winner, whoever types it in first.
Yeah, the first person. And then you go to my website, danaldavis.com, and send in your mailing address, and you'll get a cool Shakespeare themed mug. So
Shakespeare themed mug, which is the kind of mug that even when you move and you pack, you unpack, you keep it. That's the kind of mug you're gonna get. I move a lot. Okay, here's the first quote. Everybody knows it, but what play is it from? To be or not to be? That is the question.
Oh, Rachel got it.
Wow. Okay. You know what? I misjudged this crowd. Seriously, I thought, okay, wow. Rachel, that was too quick. Okay, I got to take it up a notch. Gosh. Okay, I'll slightly take it up a notch. Rachel, good job. Here's another one. This is kind of easy. I'm going to go into my second stage, the harder ones after this, but we'll just see. I like to toss out a few softballs first. Good night, good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow.
Oh, come on.
Hey, I'm just,
Rachel says she won't answer.
Rachel, you're a good person. Okay.
Come on, guys. This one's easy.
See, it's weird though, isn't it? Okay, hold on. I have a couple more. Yes, Romeo and Juliet, Kristen. Thank you for withholding, Rachel. Rachel abstained. Okay, I'll go a little harder. Rachel, I'm going to quiz you here. Actually, Dana gave me this one to ask, and I said, this is too hard, but we'll see. I love you with so much of my heart that none is left to protest. What did I tell you, Dana? Crickets.
Maria says we are lagging. Uh-oh.
Oh, we're lagging. Oh, well, okay. We can... You got it. Wow, nice. Uwe. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Uwe, you got it. Much Ado About Nothing. Good job. This is like Jeopardy. Okay, good. So we have 3 mugs. So go to danaldavis.com and give your mailing address. Yeah, give your physical mailing address, and they'll send you a mug.
Hi, I'm back.
Great. Okay.
For the raffle winners, actually, since you probably registered for this event with your email, I'll look you up on our list of attendees, and I'll forward that to Dana so she can arrange the prizes and you guys can get your mugs.
Perfect.
But thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. The chat was it was so much fun talking with you all. And thank you, Dana and Greg, for the lovely talk. Again, if you would like to purchase a copy of Vroman and Jewel, just click on the green purchase button directly below the viewer's screen. It'll take you to our website where you can complete your purchase. And also, if you came in late or have a friend who was unable to attend tonight, don't worry. The recording of this talk will be up very shortly. Just use the same link and you'll be able to see the replay. And I think that about covers everything. Thank you, everyone. Happy New Year and stay safe. All right.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.